Or maintain
I
them?
put
Vinegar?
OxyClean in every
Yeah.
white load. That works. Are you talking about stains?
What am I talking about? So like I have, for some reason I can never keep like a white t-shirt for very long. No matter what I do, it ends up in with something else. And so like the white t-shirts that I own right now are slightly blue.
Because you're washing the wrong things together?
I guess so. I guess I must have washed like a pair of jeans with them.
Right. Well, that's how people.
Yeah, and I'm
That's
like,
one of the ways that people maintain white stuff.
yeah, I know, but I don't know how I did. And then like my
You
white.
don't know how you did it.
No, but was it jeans? I forget what the hell it was. I mean, it's my own fault. The one time that you're like, oh, it doesn't matter.
But it's not a mystery.
It's not a
So
mystery.
like, I don't know how.
No,
people
it's
are
not
doing
like
this.
suddenly it's just a different color. No.
No, I mean, it's not a mystery how people maintain it.
It's not a mystery.
Why is my mother calling me? Yes, we have.
We just started.
Friday? 9:30. Yes. Right. Can you believe this shit?
What?
My mother calling me being like, what's the schedule for blah blah blah. Like, this is bothering me, my white tank top and this off-white.
I like white on white.
This is, but it's not really.
I know, but I like that like monochromatic thing.
Yeah. I don't think I do. Monochromatic.
Because it should clash, but it doesn't. If you say it doesn't. It's like wearing two kinds of any shade. I'm like, yes, do it.
What do you mean two kinds of any shade?
Like you would think that if you're wearing like a salmon colored shirt and fuchsia pants, that you could like that would be a no.
It depends
And
on
I
what
say
the colors are.
yes, go for it. So you think like they have to be complementary?
I think they have to be not painful.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like, there are some things, kind of like with the yellow and red thing.
Yeah.
There are like ways in which colors occur to us. That's like not about preference, right? Like complementary and stuff.
I remember studying color. I don't even know what it was, but it was like, yeah, the effect that colors have on different people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I agree with it. And it's like counterintuitive. So like across the board, it seems like people do not like orange.
Really?
Yeah. Like people don't wear orange or paint their houses orange.
White people don't wear orange.
Yeah. But then when they describe like how orange makes you feel, it's like it's a very good feeling color.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that very strange. Yeah, that white people don't want orange things.
That might be because of the orange with
Like
their
that,
skin color.
that they just, yeah, but it's, I feel like it goes beyond clothing, but maybe.
I don't think of orange as being a missing color. Yeah. Just sneaking in for a quick. Yeah.
I think orange was the most surprising to me. Yeah, I didn't know that like red and yellow make you want to eat. So weird.
Yes.
Yes. What was that art display that you went to with like the lights that you told me about?
Oh, James Turrell.
James Turrell.
I've seen him more than once.
Oh, it sounded good.
Oh my God, it was life-changing.
Mm.
He is so cool. He's so cool. I think he had a display at the Guggenheim or something
Mm.
when I was living there. And then I saw his stuff once here as well.
Mm.
It's crazy.
He needs to do VR.
He does.
Like, I want that now, but I can't leave the house. So I'm like, hey, James,
Right.
figure out how to put it in people's homes.
So you can plug him into your VR box there.
My VR box.
Why would it really help if he had a VR?
I was just thinking like that would be the perfect based on your description, right? Because I've never, but based on your description, I'm like, oh, that would be the kind of thing that like would be effective in virtual reality. It sounds like an experience, you know?
Yes.
So to be able to like
Yes.
explore an installation, but through virtual reality.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be a really fitting thing compared to other artists.
Yeah.
The way he looks, yeah. I don't think of myself as a fan of art.
Either. There's a bit of like a good student going on whenever I go to a museum. I'm like, I don't know. I put on like my smart person's hat, as if like I really get it. I really appreciate this culture. I don't know if I do. Yeah, and different people notice different things. Like Evan used to always be astounded at like the technique of something. So he loved sculpture, and he'd be like, "Oh, like, yeah." He was just amazed by it. We went to like the Orangerie, like the museum in Paris. Is that the one? Anyway, it has like a lot. Granted, Paris has a lot of museums, but has a lot of sculptures, and he just.
I like sculpture.
I don't know. When I saw it more through his eyes, I appreciated it more. When I actually think about it, I think it's astounding what people can do. Like, there's a rock in there.
Not all sculpture is rock.
No, I know, but when I think about that, I'm like, that is so fine, like so detailed, and it's such a difficult. It's so much more difficult actually than like just creating a two-dimensional image with like paper and pen or like.
That's interesting. You just made the statement that sculpture is harder than art.
Harder than art?
Yeah, you were like, it's so much harder than just.
No, I think I would venture it's harder than painting. Maybe I'm wrong. I would venture that.
I think it's like so wildly subjective that it's almost impossible to compare. Like, is singing harder or?
Okay, wait, I'll make an adjustment there. I think like lifelike, what's the right word? Lifelike detail, capturing that seems for me that it would be harder working with a material rather than.
That's interesting. I don't agree.
Okay.
Meaning, like, I think I would prefer, like, if I had to choose one, I would feel more confidence or more like I can do stuff. I mean,
okay.
Now, I'm not really talking about carving stone because I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
But I know like something about, very little about like plaster of Paris and stuff. And I felt like that, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Now actually that I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh, there is like something different where if you're actually like interacting with the material, because it actually resembles, if you're like making a face, because you get to you get all the other dimensions, you
And
have
you-
access to them, you can actually shape it exactly like it looks. Whereas on a flat surface, you have to really understand like light and angles
Yeah,
that you don't
and
really have to
perspective.
understand the sculpture.
and perspective.
Perspective.
Perspective is
Yeah.
hard as shit.
Yeah.
I think to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get it theoretically, but I start doing something and then I'm like, oh.
Yeah. You've painted, right? Yeah, I remember seeing some of your paintings.
I had a little spurt. I have spurts with things.
Yeah.
It's nice. I liked it. But I also like there were several things that I hated. A couple of which are right there.
Oh. Yeah.
But a lot of the these kinds of things, like poetry, was very. It's very like utilitarian to me, and I felt like that about painting as well.
Utilitarian. Meaning.
Like it's very perfunctory, not perfunctory, but like I was doing it for a reason, for a need, and once the need was over, I didn't feel the impulse to do it anymore.
Yeah.
As opposed to something that you like kind of continue to interact with regardless of like a real like something urgent.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be so interesting to like. I understand the like that urge with writing or music. Definitely, you got something on your head, and you're like, oh, I have to do it. I don't know if I've ever talked to anyone about like, oh, I have to paint this thing. You know?
Yeah.
Like, or you get like a vision of a painting, or I don't know if it's like that for them. Or they're like, oh, I'm only fulfilled like when
I'm sure it is like that for some
yeah.
people. Like that to me just means that that's one of your mediums, you know, like the ones that you speak in.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to explain my rolling holiday with painting. And, like I forgot that I even wrote any poems because I don't think about them as being like, I think about them in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Like that they happened and are over. As opposed to that they're like nouns.
Yeah. I love poetry.
You do?
Yeah, I used to think it was like this embarrassing thing that only girls in high school did, unless you were a serious poet. Now more and more I'm like, oh yeah.
I'm a serious poet.
No, but I kind of think I'm almost of the opinion now that I would find it strange if someone hasn't written poetry.
I think a lot of people haven't. Yeah.
And I wish I had studied poetry in school, actually.
I didn't study poetry. I didn't study anything. I'm so confused. For Emily's birthday, we did a writing exercise, and we were supposed to bring a piece of text, and I happened to talk to her about it beforehand, and I was like earlier in the day, and she told me what we were going to do with it, so I was like, oh, I'll just take the verses that I wrote, and because it was more like a jumping off point to then do something else.
Okay.
And it was nice. It's like a nice feeling.
What was the exercise? Can you share it?
To basically write a blessing. She's like religious.
Yeah, she's
She's
becoming a rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, we did a thing where we took some piece of text that was either important to us or whatever, and I was like, I have to find something But then she said it's just like you can pick like whatever you want out of it, even if it's literal, or you can keep a lot, do whatever you want, but then from it like create a blessing that feels relevant to you today with what's going on. Not that what's going on, but like whatever is going on for you. And hopefully it'll be a little bit universal, and everybody came up with theirs and sent them in, and she like made a, like we all made it together, so it's like one long blessing, and then someone read it, the whole thing out loud.
That's nice. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Which I've done a couple of days before, actually, but not written, spoken.
It's much more sophisticated than some birthday parties. That's the activity.
Sophisticated. I wouldn't have thought of that word.
No?
I mean, it's not a bad word for it, but
I mean, it's asking that people are actually creative in some capacity. And
it's demanding.
Yeah, definitely.
But I sort of feel like Halloween is demanding.
Halloween is so demanding. How do people do it?
I don't know. I cannot get down with it.
I think they think about it for months.
Some people.
I can't wait.
Some people.
In their costumes. Is it that satisfying?
I don't know, but if I see people on Bumble in a Halloween costume, I'm like, oh, you don't get along. I don't know why. I don't know if that's true.
It might not be true.
Yeah, it really might not. It might not be true at all.
It might be fine. But they might just have gone to a Halloween party once.
Yeah, but I'm sort of grasping at straws in terms of how to like create rigid rules to eliminate people.
Well, I don't know. I don't have those rules.
You don't have any rules? I have all kinds
I probably do. They're just not conscious.
I have all kinds of rules.
Yeah.
Same expression in every picture?
Oh, yeah. See, that doesn't work.
Gone.
Yeah.
All selfies, gone. Dead animal?
Right.
Gone.
Fishing. No fishing photos.
Yeah. No dead fish, and no like sedated tigers or alligators or all the other versions I've seen, which there have been numerous. No famous people. No, you a famous person.
Yeah.
No partners in crime. No profiles that start with just. No.
Like as a name?
No. No, like just a normal laid back, just a
It was like just Jason. Like I don't know.
No. But my name is Justin, dude. No. It says just. No justs, no partners in crime.
What do you mean partners in crime? Like where that's the caption under the photo?
Where people say they're looking for their partner in crime.
Oh, yeah. Like,
what's he doing? Unicorns. Any mention of unicorns? 8. Hard rules. No, that's not. Just kidding.
Do you rule out? Are you discriminatory against any like professions? Any mottos? Any like, or maybe more accurate is like when it's like favorite movies. Are you like, oh, we would get along?
No way.
I don't know. I'm thinking of the more obvious things that it sounds like you're open to.
What do you mean the more obvious things?
There was someone I was looking at his profile and he was like favorite movies and he listed Shrek. And I was like, what are you doing?
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Shrek is fine, but favorite movie?
I mean,
my favorite movie is Lion King, but
then you're really in no position.
No, okay, Lion King is so much more profound than Shrek. I think. Plus, I was like 5 years old when I saw it, so
maybe he was 5 years old when he saw Shrek.
maybe.
How old is this?
But that can kind of be an indicator that it's like, I don't think we have the same taste.
You can't see their eyes in any pictures.
Yeah, you've mentioned this too, and also because I guess I've just kind of been on Hinge, and I haven't really been talking to anyone, but on Hinge, does it work like that on Bumble where it connects your Instagram?
Not automatically.
Okay, so like a lot of people are connected on Hinge through their Insta, and so you can literally just go straight to their Instagram.
Mm-hmm. That seems like a lot of access to be given.
It's a lot of access to have right off the bat, actually. I know a lot about that person.
Yeah.
Potentially. And then you've talked about this too, where like you think it's kind of weird, unless they're like a photographer, it's kind of weird to have an Instagram with no photos of them.
I don't think I've said that.
Oh. Or like where they're
because I prefer those.
You do? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of like pictures of you everywhere.
There's a balance. What do I think about?
But I think this is crossing wires with another conversation we've had where like you literally can't tell what the person looks like.
Yeah.
But like then it could be a bot kind of thing. Like it's a different kind of weird.
Mm.
Like I do remember saying something about that, but I don't think it was. Yeah.
It's interesting to connect your Instagram if you are like a cinematographer or photographer, because it's almost like you're showing the world, like you're showing like you're dating, you're showing your portfolio.
Yeah. But you're also showing your eye, which is different, which is personal.
Well, I understand like using Instagram for that, but it's, I guess so. Kind of over photography.
You're over photography as a
I just think like,
I love these conversations.
It's so like we get it. You're really sophisticated. Why am I just using the word sophisticated? Like, yeah, you're really something.
But you love poetry?
Yeah, I like poetry because it's like sweet and whatever. I like poetry, but like, oh, look at my fancy.
Poetry is one of the most potential.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be.
No, of course it doesn't have to be. But I think photography can be, but doesn't have to be.
It's funny. It's like the combination of like a guy cinematographer. Oh, we get it.
Really? How funny. We get it. I'm more into them than directors.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah. That's really funny though. We get it.
It's just, it's like, I don't know. It's pretentious.
Being a cinematographer is?
Yes, incredibly. Oh, what a beautiful picture. What am I supposed to say about that?
What is more pretentious about a cinematographer than like numerous other jobs in the surround?
I feel like, I think most other jobs in comparison to that are not pretentious at all.
No, not most other jobs. I'm talking about in.
Oh, in like
Yeah.
in that kind of realm of industry.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, director is up there. But often directors have the same thing, by the way. I think that's about as pretentious as it gets. And I'm not saying, like, by the way, I'm saying this, it's how it comes across. Like, actually, most of the cinematographers I've met have been amazing, lovely people.
The ones that, yeah.
Like, that I've met on set.
I didn't think you met on Hinge because clearly that would never go well for them.
Yeah. No, if anything, they've been like the opposite of that. They've been like so friendly and fun and kind and just like really curious and interested in the world. Yeah, it's just how it comes across to me.
That's funny. I like when you're over stuff. Especially if it's like really vital.
Vital.
Like I could see you being like, I'm just over farms.
You know what? You know how I finally made bread?
How? Oh yes.
And so I made bread. And pretty much like the second I ate it, I was like, I can over bread.
Well, it was a lot of input.
And it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth it, guys.
It wasn't?
I mean, now
so happy eating bread that you made?
No. I was grateful it was there because I was like, oh, I need some bread. Hey, happen to have some now.
Oh my god.
And granted, like, I want to do it again. It was just like, it was so much hassle. I want to do it again, but it wasn't.
You want to do it again even though you're over it and
I'm over it.
It wasn't worth it.
Maybe I was disappointed by my loaf. Didn't rise enough. Would I be satisfied if it was the perfect loaf? I have no idea. I don't think so.
Cool.
Yeah. It's like when you finally win that Oscar. You're like, what do I do now? Ultimately, chase isn't satisfying.
Oh my god. I hope that's not true.
I think it is. I think ultimately, like, that's not why you do it.
It depends on what the it is.
Well, I don't think you get into acting to win an Oscar. That's bizarro.
That's why I got into it.
To win an Oscar?
Exactly why.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're gonna get there.
I mean, I know I am.
Forget an Oscar, you're gonna get an EGOT, okay? It's evident.
A what?
An EGOT.
What the damn hell is that?
How do you know what an EGOT is? An EGOT is Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony.
Who did that?
A lot of people.
Really?
Yeah. Whoopi Goldberg. Can't think of anyone else right now. I know Whoopi.
That's one person.
Yeah.
I believe you that lots of people have.
Who has an EGOT?
How do I know what an EGOT is? How do I not know?
Yeah, I just thought you would know that.
Why do you think I would know that? Do you think I'm very up on the TV and film industry?
No, I think you're very up on the theater. You're more up on the theater world than I am.
Well, trust me, the theater people don't care about the other three.
You don't know. John Gielgud, Audrey Hepburn, but of course, who are these? I don't even know some of these. Mel Brooks, Mike Nichols, Whoopi. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. John Legend. Barbara Streisand, of course. Liza Minnelli. These are kind of obvious.
Those are obvious. Barbara Streisand. Don't get her.
No?
No. Not a fan of her voice.
It's got a lot of like rumbaba.
Which I don't have anything against that. Like, I don't hate Liza Minnelli,
Mm-hmm.
which has a hell of a lot of that.
Yeah.
Who has a hell of a lot of that?
Yeah. I don't know. She's got like moxie.
Just doesn't. I remember seeing Funny Girl and being like, oh, okay, this is cute.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever see that movie with Robert Redford?
Oh, no.
It's like, what is it? It's this romance movie. Her and Robert Redford. It's really weird. I don't know if I fully buy it.
Buy it?
Yeah. What do I say? I love him.
You do?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love him. He might be one of my favorite actors.
No kidding. You never mentioned that.
No.
No?
I said, oh. Yeah, I know you got to meet him. And yeah.
It was really special. But yeah, I didn't know that you. That's cool.
The Way We Were, is that what it is?
Oh, yeah.
The Way We Were.
That sounds right. Wasn't that a big deal?
It was a big deal.
And what don't you buy about it?
Maybe I just don't buy them as a couple. I don't know.
Mabes.
Yeah.
And why would that be, pray tell?
It's not because she's not pretty enough.
It isn't.
I just think she comes across as difficult.
And he wouldn't be down with difficult?
I don't think it's like about him and her. It's just, I don't think that would work well.
This is very mysterious.
Like, I don't think she would want him.
Interesting.
I don't know why I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. It just doesn't work.
I just don't buy it.
Okay.
What'd you do today?
I messed around on Premiere Pro.
That's what it is.
Hmm?
What is Premiere Pro?
Like, that's what it is.
No, I was asking, is that what you...
Oh, it's like iMovie, but fancier.
Oh. Why?
I was editing something.
What were you editing?
A video.
What? What video? I mean, I feel like we're making you tell the whole world.
Yeah.
But
it's fine.
What?
Like, yeah, I'm gonna start a channel. Like, for real. So,
Oh, what's
not
the
that
video?
this isn't for real, but like, in addition to this.
What's the video?
So it's just like me basically saying that I'm officially starting a channel.
That's funny.
Yeah, but it's good because it lets me just learn editing. Oh, and it's been a long time since I had to edit anything. And I don't really know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I figure that's okay. Like, just do it. And some of it's kind of stupid, but whatever. I'm learning. I'm learning,
Cool.
okay? Yeah. But I forgot what it was like to be bent over a computer working like all day.
Why didn't you put your backpack on?
Should have. Oh, it's in my car. I actually might need to do that. I did pull out my like blue blocking glasses, so I figured that's a good idea. Yeah. Anyway, and hopefully also it's most exhausting now because I don't really understand. It's just like all the annoying things that you're like, how do I move? Like, where do I find it?
Yeah, it'll get quicker.
Why do the clips keep disappearing?
That's probably why you're tired.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you were like, oh, my like brain hurts, I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I don't like finishing things.
No?
Once they're at a certain point, I'm just like, go away. Like going over a draft. I think this is probably one of my major problems in life.
Finishing things?
Mm-hmm. Names.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, because my dad always says I have starting trouble. So if I have starting trouble and I have trouble finishing things, then what am I good at?
Starting trouble. Wait, like, that actually sounds like you don't have a problem finishing things. It sounds like you have a problem, like, not having something be finished.
I just mean like it's hard for me to focus because I'm like, I don't want to look at this. I've already looked at it, which affects my ability to do it.
That's what I mean, though. If you're like, oh, I've already done it, that means you finished it.
No, but it's not finished because things require a lot of edits. That's just the nature of anything, isn't it? Not a lot, but you have to edit stuff. You can't just like spew into the void and then be like, peace.
Some people do.
Like Tolstoy.
I
still think.
Yeah, I kind of do. I kind of do. No, I know like a lot of people just get other people to deal with that.
I get why.
Yeah, me too.
Because it is annoying.
I know. I was like, I don't know how to edit something. This is stupid. I should just go on Fiverr.
I don't know what that is either.
It's kind of like TaskRabbit. The premise is you pay someone $5 to do like a task, but at this point, I think most people like charge more than that. It's kind of like Thumbtack to Fiverr. But yeah, I definitely had those thoughts where I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. This is taking me far longer, and money and time is money. You know?
Oh. Oh.
Did you ever read? No, I don't think you ever did. You've never read like Tim Ferriss's books, have you?
No.
Yeah. He talks a lot about outsourcing.
Tim Ferriss, Sam Harris. Who are all these people?
I never made that connection. Tim Ferriss.
Dan Harris. See, it sounds like the
same guy. Pretty much, it's like imagine it like actually is the same guy.
It really might be.
There was a podcast with both the Harrises together, and it was like, no, okay, they're different. They're different people. All right. No, so Tim Ferriss talks a lot about outsourcing, and he's like, look, chances are you're just not very good at the thing, and like pay someone else to do it. Like you want to make yourself as obsolete as possible so that it's automated without you.
Yeah. That's like a managerial style.
Yeah.
According to my brother-in-law.
I don't know.
It's like, what are you doing then? Just orchestrating the outsourcing? Cool. That's like what I imagine most people with office jobs to be doing.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Just telling
like-
someone else to do it.
Just being like, yeah, where are we on this and that? Like,
Me too.
I still need to get. I don't know. I should shut up. I know nothing about office jobs. Oh, look. Another Instagram thing from. Oh my god, this was a year ago. No, 2 years ago. No. What am I saying? Yeah, June of 2018.
What? How's he standing? I thought he was 2.
He's 2.5.
Oh,
I mean, I'm only saying
He's
June
only-
of 2018 because that's what my phone is
that's what
showing.
it says.
Oh my gosh, this was a really that cute moment before he recognizes you. Oh, Ashanu. I love you. He makes such a racket.
Mm-hmm.
It was like hard for me to think. And I was on the phone with somebody who's just in the house with him.
Mm.
I can play drums. So loud.
Mm.
Yeah. What should we read?
Yeah, that's weird.
Because otherwise I'm gonna fall asleep.
Me too. I recommended this book to someone today.
You recommended War and Peace?
Yeah, I was like, yeah. I was like, you should read it.
Were they like, what?
I think they bought it on Kindle. Yeah, I told them.
What did you tell them?
I was like, it doesn't lull you to sleep. You know, it doesn't make it easy for you.
It very much probably lulls people to sleep. Literally.
And what I said was, I kind of mentioned like the Economist article. And how I was like, oh, that's so weird. Like, you wouldn't think that this would be a good book to read during this time. Like, based on everything I was saying, like, oh, it's basically the premise is like, basically not the premise, but like the biggest thing that you get from it is like, you can't really point to any kind of causality with anything, with like a person, an event, and there's nothing like you can really know for certain. I think that's why, because he was talking about like needing to understand things, and it like rung a bell with what we were talking about yesterday, and then I kind of launched into that, and I was like, so much of the book is about that, and based on that, I thought it was really weird that people would be reading this during difficult times. But actually it's because when you like get in touch with the nature of life itself, which is quite uncertain and unknowable, that in and of itself actually lends you a kind of peace that you don't get if you're trying to fight against it. If you're trying to fight against that fact, then you really have nowhere to stand.
Glowing recommendation. It's just glowing.
Spreading the good word.
Oh, yeah. And then you were like, buy it on Kindle.
Should have just been like, tune in.
What the fuck?
But he would be lost right now.
He wouldn't be lost if he could listen to it in order.
If he went back to the beginning.
Yeah. Everybody looks at me like I'm an insane person, and I'm like, oh, they're all there though. What to do what with?
So to watch it and listen.
Yeah, I know. I would love to have endless hours of something.
Actually, yeah. Just put it on the background. Clean your house,
what I
bake your
think.
bread.
That's what
War
I
and
think.
peace. And then when people are like, what did you do during the quarantine? You'll be like, I read War and Peace.
Do you feel weird saying I read when it was an audiobook or when you listened to us read it on YouTube?
I don't know. I'm in a book club and that's pretty much how I digest my books. So, no.
What's how you?
Audiobook.
Oh. What does that have to do with being in a book club?
Because you asked, do you feel weird saying you read something
Mhm.
if you listen to it?
Mhm.
And I guess with them, I say, like, yeah, I read it at the end.
Are they like, did you really though?
Did you really? No. Yeah. Do you think there's something lesser about an audiobook?
I have, yes.
Hmm.
But I don't think that's an objective thing. I think that's a judgment that I have on it. I think it's because I think of physically reading as a bit more of a slog because you can't do anything else while you're doing it.
That's true.
So you have to just like it's like just more commitment and more I don't know. So if you dedicated that to it, that means something different than if you had it on in the background.
That's true. Yeah.
That being said, for some people, they feel like they check out of audiobooks and don't like it's easier to not pay attention. And I actually don't find that it's easier to check out of an audiobook than of a written book. I find them equally easy or difficult to check out of.
Yeah.
Like I've
There's plenty of
literally
people-
read stuff.
And you're like, I haven't been paying attention for the past 20 pages.
Yeah. And I mean, I've even read stuff numerous times in War and Peace that I'm clearly reading it because I'm saying the words out loud.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the paragraph, I'm like, what?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, what is happening? That's crazy. Our brains are crazy.
Yeah, did you ever try to learn speed reading?
No.
There's just one talk I read once. I was interested in it for a while, and there was one talk with this guy who's apparently the greatest speed reader of all time. Can read a book in like, I don't know what it is, like 10 minutes maybe.
What?
And like retains it.
See, I have such a hard time believing that, but I guess he's been verified.
Yeah, that's just it. Like he retains it. And actually his theory is that actually we don't read quickly enough. Because if you read at the pace in which you think, it's actually much easier.
When I read, I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not for the first, it's a little bit like Shakespeare. So it supposedly takes your ears 8 minutes or something like that. So that when people first step on stage, you're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Your brain takes a second.
Yeah.
Similarly, I don't start off like this at all. But if I'm actually like in any kind of a flow with it, then it's definitely like, it's pretty quick.
Okay. I believe you. His thing was like, had more to do with like eye movements. That like your eye will look around. You think like so the reason speed readers talk about like actually putting a finger to read because it studies your eye to follow it. Even though it looks like you're a slow reader, it's actually like a much quicker because your eye naturally will kind of like do this like dotted, it'll move around and that slows down your reading. So it's not as anyway, so it's slower. And that kind of makes it feel more drudge-like because you're not like taking it in as it's happening instantaneously, like what happens in a television show or something.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think that's actually a lot of the trick of speed reading is just like learning how to use your eyes.
Right.
Strangely.
Which
What happened? Oh, we read a lot yesterday.
Natasha. Oh God. Poor Andrew in his confusion. Andrew's like out of his mind.
Stretching. Pins and needles. What was it?
Yeah, it was like a structure made of needles.
Um,
And going up out of his face. And oh my God, that bit about like him being confused because there was a fly and the fly stopped on his face in the place where he was like, but there's the structures there. I don't know how to feel about the fact that this shit is so easy for me to relate to. Like, does that mean that you're a crazy person? Because part of me's like, yeah, when you don't realize, like, that's like an Instagram meme for me. That moment when you realize the fly just landed on your face right in the place where the structure was definitely growing from.
I mean, I can relate, like, when I've been on drugs.
Maybe I'm just all the time a little bit on drugs.
Maybe you, like, live in a more abstract,
I think it's
sensory world.
I think maybe it's something. Maybe it's something like that, which is weird because I feel quite analytical.
I think you balance both very well.
Really?
Yeah.
Both what?
Did Eric talk about this with you or something? I'm not making this up.
That my sides of my brain are balanced.
Yeah. Did I say that?
He was complimenting my brain.
I know. No, but I actually think that like your brain, like you can be quite, like obviously you're very intelligent and you can be quite analytical, but at the same time, like you're incredibly in touch with the emotional world.
So I'm just very touchy.
No, I think you have, I don't know, you have access to both.
Thanks. Cool. C'est cool.
C'est cool ça.
C'est très cool.
So there was, did we actually recap? Does that recap anything?
No.
No, it really doesn't. So first of all, we were still with Pierre and Captain Rumbal, who I quite like, actually.
Great guy.
Oh, that Frenchman. They had dinner, drank lots of wine, talked about all their loves, and
Pierre told him everything.
yeah, they just shared. It was just a
beautiful
moment.
It was beautiful.
But
then later Pierre was like, wait.
Yeah, Pierre realized he wasn't going to carry out his plan of killing Napoleon. And he got quite sad about that.
Yeah. And it seems to me like he's still conflicted about it. Obviously.
He has to be conflicted.
Yeah, that he's still like, but.
I forget how it ended.
What it?
Oh, yeah, how that little episode ended. I think he just went to bed. I think that's where it ended.
Yeah, I think it might have left off somewhere around him being like not cool with the fact that he was not going to do it.
Yeah.
And then Natasha snuck in to see Prince Andrew. And he, of course, woke up right at the fucking second she was there. And he has been basically percolating with his experience of divine love that he accessed for the first time when he got this horrifying wound, from which he may or may not die. It's not clear. I've been told both.
Well, he's not dying. Apparently he's not dying.
Yeah, but maybe apparently he's dying.
Right, that's true.
And maybe apparently he's not dying. What?
I kind of spoiled the book for myself.
You did?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Because I was looking at pictures of Leo Tolstoy, right? And then this article came up, and I was skimming through it, and I was almost going to send it to you. And then I glanced at this paragraph, and now I know what happens with one of the characters, at least vaguely.
Are you fucking serious?
Ugh.
This is no longer a vacuum.
How much do I know? No, I only
Where
really
we
know
know
two
nothing.
things. I only really know two things, but yeah, it's no longer a vacuum.
Ah! That sucks.
I don't know anything about Prince Andrew.
You reading articles.
And damn me, it looked interesting. I was like, ooh, War and Peace in the pandemic.
My God. Oh, it was in it.
It was like,
The
yeah,
pandemic.
it was like a recent article that had been written about reading it now.
How prescient are we?
Yeah, I think that's a good recap. So Natasha's taking care of Andrew. Right?
Yep.
And Moscow is burning.
Oh, yeah. And that was sad. I felt sad. I was like, but the motherland. But
Yeah, there was something so, I don't even know where they are. It was like the Rostovs are with all the other people who left Moscow.
Yeah, they're just on their way out of town.
They're like in the wilderness, and there's this one man who has a broken ankle, and he's moaning from pain. And then they see the fires in the distance, and then cut to the Rostovs trying to sleep, and they just hear the moaning and see the light from the fire.
Yeah. I normally check out for moments like this. I'm like, yeah, a fire. Okay. Like it becomes a article of becomes a plot point very quickly.
Mhm.
But this time I was like, no, don't burn. Which what am I talking about? I'm excited for chapter 33.
We're gonna have to probably, I'm guessing.
Stop in the middle of chapter 33?
No, I think we're gonna finish the book. I think this book has 34 chapters. Oh, but maybe it's long enough. Anyway.
Okay,
Okay.
let's just see what we get.
Okay.
Chapter 33. On the 3rd of September, Pierre awoke late. His head was aching. The clothes in which he had slept without undressing felt uncomfortable on his body, and his mind had a dim consciousness of something shameful he had done the day before. I used to wake up every day like this. That something shameful was his yesterday's conversation with Captain Kambal.
It was 11 by the clock, but it seemed peculiarly dark out of doors. Pierre rose, rubbed his eyes, and seeing the pistol with an engraved stock which Gerasim had replaced on the writing table, he remembered where he was and what lay before him that very day.
Am I not too late? He thought. No, probably he won't make his entry into Moscow before noon.
Pierre did not allow himself to reflect on what lay before him, but hastened to act.
After arranging his clothes, he took the pistol and was about to go out. But it then occurred to him for the first time that he certainly could not carry the weapon in his hand through the streets. Oh my God, it's going to be a long day. It was difficult to hide such a big pistol, even under his wide coat. He could not carry it unnoticed in his belt or under his arm. Besides, it had been discharged, and he had not had time to reload it. No matter. Dagger will do, he said to himself, though when planning his design he had more than once come to the conclusion that the chief mistake made by the student in 1809 had been to try to kill Napoleon with a dagger. But as his chief aim consisted not in carrying out his design, but in proving to himself that he would not abandon his Jesus. But in proving to himself that he would not abandon his intention and was doing all he could to achieve it, Pierre hastily took the blunt, jagged dagger in a green sheath, which he had bought at the Sukharev market with the pistol, and hid it under his waistcoat.
Having tied a girdle over his coat and pulled his cap low on his head, Pierre went down the corridor, trying to avoid making a noise or meeting the captain, and passed out into the street.
The conflagration, at which he had looked with so much indifference the evening before, had greatly increased during the night. Moscow was on fire in several places. The buildings in Carriage Row, across the river, in the bazaar and the Povarskoy, as well as the barges on the Moskva River and the timber yards by the Dorogomilov Bridge, were all ablaze.
Pierre's way led through side streets to the Povarskoy, and from there to the Church of St. Nicholas on the Arbat, where he had long before decided that the deed should be done. The gates of most of the houses were locked and the shutters up. The streets and lanes were deserted. The air was full of smoke and the smell of burning. Now and then he met Russians with anxious and timid faces, and Frenchmen with an air not of the city but of the camp, walking in the middle of the streets. Both the Russians and the French looked at Pierre with surprise. Besides his height and stoutness and the strange morose look of suffering in his face and whole figure, the Russians stared at Pierre because they could not make out to what class he could belong. The French followed him with astonishment in their eyes, chiefly because Pierre, unlike all the other Russians who gazed at the French with fear and curiosity, paid no attention to them. At the gate of one house, 3 Frenchmen, who were explaining something to some Russians who did not understand them, stopped Pierre, asking if he did not know French.
Pierre shook his
if he did not know French. Sorry.
Pierre shook his head and went on. In another side street, a sentinel standing beside a green caisson shouted at him, but only when the shout was threateningly repeated and he heard the click of the man's musket as he raised it did Pierre understand that he had to pass on the other side of the street. He heard nothing and saw nothing of what went on around him. He carried his resolution within himself in terror and haste, like something dreadful and alien to him. For after the previous night's experience, he was afraid of losing it. But he was not destined to bring his mood safely to his destination. And even had he not been hindered by anything on the way, his intention could not now have been carried out. For Napoleon had passed the Arbat more than 4 hours previously on his way from the Dorgomilov suburb to the Kremlin, and was now sitting in a very gloomy frame of mind in a royal study in the Kremlin, giving detailed and exact orders as to measures to be taken immediately to extinguish the fire, to prevent looting, and to reassure the inhabitants. But Pierre did not know this. He was entirely absorbed in what lay before him, and was tortured, as those are who obstinately undertake a task that is impossible for them, not because of its difficulty, but because of its incompatibility with their natures, by the fear of weakening at the decisive moment, and so losing his self-esteem.
Though he heard and saw nothing around him, he found his way by instinct, and did not go wrong in the side streets that led to the Povarskoy.
As Pierre approached that street, the smoke became denser and denser. He even felt the heat of the fire. Occasionally, curly tongues of flame rose from under the roofs of the houses. He met more people in the streets, and they were more excited. But Pierre, though he felt that something unusual was happening around him, did not realize that he was approaching the fire. As he was going along a footpath across a wide open space adjoining the Povarskoy on one side and the gardens of Prince Gruzinski's house on the other, Pierre suddenly heard the desperate weeping of a woman close to him. He stopped as if awakening from a dream and lifted his head.
By the side of the path, on the dusty dry grass, all sorts of household goods lay in a heap: feather beds, a samovar, icons, and trunks. On the ground beside the trunks sat a thin woman no longer young, with long, prominent upper teeth, wearing a black cloak and cap. This woman, swaying to and fro and muttering something, was choking with sobs. 2 girls of about 10 and 12, dressed in dirty short frocks and cloaks, were staring at their mother with a look of stupefaction on their pale, frightened faces. The youngest child, a boy of about 7, who wore an overcoat and an immense cap evidently not his own, was crying in his old nurse's arms. A dirty, barefooted maid was sitting on a trunk, and having undone her pale-colored plait, was pulling plait or plait? I never know.
I grew up saying plat, but I think it was spelled P-L-A-T.
Oh,
I've heard plate before.
okay. was pulling it straight and sniffing at her singed hair. The woman's husband, a short, round-shouldered man in the undress uniform of a civilian office official, with sausage-shaped.
It's so weird. That happened to me too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Office-
I was like official.
official, with sausage-shaped whiskers.
Ew.
Huh. And showing under his square-set cap the hair smoothly brushed forward over his temples, with expressionless face, was moving the trunks, which were placed one on another, and was dragging some garments from under them.
As soon as she saw Pierre, the woman almost threw herself at his feet.
Dear people, good Christians, save me, help me, dear friends, help us, somebody, she muttered between her sobs. My girl, my daughter, my youngest daughter is left behind, she's burned. Oh, was it for this I nursed you? Oh.
Don't marry Nikolievna, said her husband to her in a low voice, evidently only to justify himself before the stranger. Sister must have taken her, or else where can she be? He added.
Monster. Villain, shouted the woman angrily, suddenly ceasing to weep. You have no heart, you don't feel for your own child. Another man would have rescued her from the fire. But this is a monster and neither a man nor a father. You, honored sir, are a nobleman, she went on, addressing Pierre rapidly between her sobs. The fire broke out alongside and blew our way. The maid called out, fire, and we rushed to collect our things. We ran out just as we were. This is what we have brought away, the icons and my dowry bed. All the rest is lost. We seized the children, but not Katie. Oh, Lord. And again she began to sob. My child, my dear one, burned, burned.
But where was she left? Asked Pierre.
From the expression of his animated face, the woman saw that this man might help her.
Oh, dear sir, she cried, seizing him by the legs. My benefactor, set my heart at ease. Aniska, go, you horrid girl, show him the way. She cried to the maid, angrily opening her mouth and still farther exposing her long teeth.
Show me the way, show me, I'll do it, gasped Pierre rapidly.
The dirty maidservant stepped from behind the trunk, put up her plate, sighed, and went on her short, bare feet along the path. Pierre felt as if he had come back to life after a heavy swoon. He held his head higher, his eyes shone with the light of life, and with swift steps he followed the maid, overtook her, and came out on the Povarskoy. The whole street was full of clouds of black smoke. Tongues of flame here and there broke through that cloud. A great number of people crowded in front of the conflagration. In the middle of the street stood a French general saying something to those around him. Pierre, accompanied by the maid, was advancing to the spot where the general stood, but the French soldier stopped him.
On ne passe pas, cried a voice.
This way, uncle, cried the girl. We'll pass through the side street, by the Nikulins.
Pierre turned back, giving a spring now and then to keep up with her. She ran across the street, turned down a side street to the left, and passing 3 houses, turned into a yard on the right.
It's here, close by, said she, and running across the yard, opened a gate in a wooden fence, and stopping, pointed. So they're not at their house?
Apparently not. I don't know what.
They're like super far from their house.
I guess so.
Okay.
Wait, and they grabbed all those things? That far? Okay.
I mean, they've obviously had to take a more circuitous route, but even without that.
Right. Yeah, it seems strange.
It's here, close by, right, said she, and running across the yard, opened a gate in a wooden fence and stopping, pointed out to him a small wooden wing of the house, which was burning brightly and fiercely. One of its sides had fallen in, another was on fire, and bright flames issued from the openings of the windows and from under the roof.
As Pierre passed through the fence gate, he was enveloped by hot air and involuntarily stopped.
Which is it? Which is your house? He asked.
Oh, wailed the girl, pointing to the wing. That's it. That was our lodging. Burned to death, our treasure, Katie, my precious little missy. Oh, lamented Aniska, who at the sight of the fire felt that she too must give expression to her feelings.
Pierre rushed to the wing, but the heat was so great that he involuntarily passed round in a curve and came upon the large house that was as yet burning only at one end, just below the roof, and around which swarmed a crowd of Frenchmen. At first Pierre did not realize what these men, who were dragging something out, were about, but seeing before him a Frenchman hitting a peasant with a blunt saber and trying to take from him a fox fur coat, he vaguely understood that looting was going on there, but he had no time to dwell on that idea.
The sounds of crackling and the din of falling walls and ceilings, the whistle and hiss of the flames, the excited shouts of the people, and the sight of the swaying smoke, now gathering into thick black clouds and now soaring up with glittering sparks, with here and there dense sheaves of flame, now red and now like golden fish scales creeping along the walls, and the heat and smoke and rapidity of motion produced on Pierre the usual animating effects of conflagration. It had a peculiarly strong effect on him, because at the sight of the fire he felt himself suddenly freed from the ideas that had weighed him down. He felt young, bright, adroit, and resolute. He ran round to the other side of the lodge and was about to dash into that part of it, which was still standing, when just above his head he heard several voices shouting, and then a cracking sound, and the ring of something heavy falling close beside him.
Pierre looked up and saw at a window of the large house some Frenchman who had just thrown out the drawer of a chest filled with metal articles. Other French soldiers standing below went up to the drawer.
"What does this fellow want?" shouted one of them, referring to Pierre.
"There's a child in that house. Haven't you seen a child?" cried
What's he
Pierre.
talking about? "Get along," said several voices, and one of the soldiers, evidently afraid that Pierre might want to take from them some of the plate and bronzes that were in the drawer, moved threateningly toward him.
"A child?" shouted a Frenchman from above. "I did hear something squealing in the garden. Perhaps it's his brat that the fellow is looking for. After all, one must be human, you know."
"Where is it? Where?" said Pierre.
"There, there," shouted the Frenchman at the window, pointing to the garden at the back of the house. "Wait a bit, I'm coming down."
And a minute or two later, the Frenchman, a black-eyed fellow with a spot on his cheek, in shirt sleeves, really did jump out of a window on the ground floor, and clapping Pierre on the shoulder, ran with him into the garden.
"Hurry up, you others," he called out to his comrades. "It's getting hot."
When they reached a gravel path behind the house, the Frenchman pulled Pierre by the arm and pointed to a round, gravelled space where a 3-year-old girl in a pink dress was lying under a seat.
"There's your child. Oh, a girl. So much the better," said the Frenchman. "Goodbye, fatty. We must be human. We are all mortal, you know." And the Frenchman with the spot on his cheek ran back to his comrades.
Breathless with joy, Pierre ran to the little girl and was going to take her in his arms. But seeing a stranger, the sickly, scrofulous-looking child, unattractively like her mother, began to yell and run away. Pierre, however, seized her and lifted her in his arms. She screamed desperately and angrily, and tried with her little hands to pull Pierre's hands away and to bite them with her slobbering mouth. Pierre was seized by a sense of horror and repulsion, such as he had experienced when touching some nasty little animal. But he made an effort not to throw the child down and ran with her to the large house. Nasty little animal. Okay. Fair enough. It was now, however, impossible to get back the way he had come. The maid Aniska was no longer there. Where'd she go? Was no longer there, and Pierre, with a feeling of pity and disgust, pressed the wet, painfully sobbing child to himself as tenderly as he could, and ran with her through the garden, seeking another way out.
I mean, if the way was collapsing or closing with fire, she might have been like,
It just sounds weird, but she's like, "Oh, Katie," and then she's like, "Oh, okay, I guess let's go for lunch." Yeah.
Chapter 34. Having run through different yards and side streets, Pierre got back with his little burden to the Gruzinski garden at the corner of the Povarskoy. He did not at first recognize the place from which he had set out to look for the child, so crowded was it now with people and goods that had been dragged out of the houses. Besides Russian families who had taken refuge here from the fire with their belongings, there were several French soldiers in a variety of clothing. Pierre took no notice of them. He hurried to find the family of that civil servant in order to restore the daughter to her mother and to go to save someone else. Pierre felt that he still had much to do and to do quickly. Glowing with the heat and from running, he felt at that moment more strongly than ever the sense of youth, animation, and determination that had come on him when he ran to save the child. She had now become quiet, and clinging with her little hands to Pierre's coat, sat on his arm, gazing about her like some little wild animal. He glanced at her occasionally with a slight smile. He fancied he saw something pathetically innocent in that frightened, sickly little face.
He did not find the civil servant or his wife where he had left them. He walked among the crowd with rapid steps, scanning the various faces he met. Involuntarily, he noticed a Georgian or Armenian family consisting of a very handsome old man of Oriental type, wearing a new cloth-covered sheepskin coat and new boots, an old woman of similar type, and a young woman. That very young woman seemed to Pierre the perfection of Oriental beauty, with her sharply outlined, arched, black eyebrows, and the extraordinarily soft, bright color of her long, beautiful, expressionless face.
See?
Amid the scattered property and the crowd on the open space, she, in her rich satin cloak with a bright lilac shawl on her head, suggested a delicate, exotic plant thrown out onto the snow. She was sitting on some bundles a little behind the old woman and looked from under her long lashes with motionless, large, almond-shaped eyes at the ground before her. Evidently, she was aware of her beauty and fearful because of it. Her face struck Pierre, and, hurrying along by the fence, he turned several times to look at her.
Now's a good time.
So sure. He's like, no, but
He's got a child.
When he had reached the fence, still without finding those he sought, he stopped and looked about him.
With the child in his arms, his figure was now more conspicuous than before, and a group of Russians, both men and women, gathered about him.
Have you lost anyone, my dear fellow? You're the gentry yourself, aren't you? Whose child is it? They asked him.
Pierre replied that the child belonged to a woman in a black coat who had been sitting there with her other children, and he asked whether anyone knew where she had gone.
Why, that must be the Anforovs, said an old deacon, addressing a pock-marked peasant woman. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, he added in his customary bass.
The Anforovs? No, said the woman. They left in the morning. That must be either Mary Nikolaevna's or the Ivanovs.
He says a woman, and Mary Nikolaevna is a lady, remarked a house serf.
Do you know her? She's thin with long teeth, said Pierre.
That's Mary Nikolaevna. Long teeth? Would you know someone based on their long teeth?
No. But also, why is the child not like, yeah, that's my name?
She's 3.
Ishan definitely knows his parents' names.
Yeah, definitely. That's Mary Nikolaevna. They went inside the garden when these wolves swooped down, said the woman, pointing to the French soldiers.
Oh, Lord have mercy, added the deacon.
Go over that way. They're there. It's she. She kept on lamenting and crying, continued the woman. It's she. Here, this way.
But Pierre was not listening to the woman. He had for some seconds been intently watching what was going on a few steps away. He was looking at the Armenian family and at 2 French soldiers who had gone up to them. One of these, a nimble little man, was wearing a blue coat tied round the waist with a rope. He had a nightcap on his head and his feet were bare. The other, whose appearance particularly struck Pierre, was a long, lank, round-shouldered, fair-haired man, slow in his movements and with an idiotic expression of face. He wore a woman's loose gown of frieze, blue trousers, and large, torn Hessian boots. The little barefooted Frenchman in the blue coat went up to the Armenians and, saying something, immediately seized the old man by his legs, and the old man at once began pulling off his boots. The other, in the frieze gown, stopped in front of the beautiful Armenian girl and, with his hands in his pockets, stood staring at her, motionless and silent.
Here, take the child, said Pierre, peremptorily. Peremptorily. I like that word, and I can't say it. Hurriedly to the woman, handing the little girl to her. Give her back to them. Give her back, he almost shouted, putting the child, who began screaming, on the ground, and again looking at the Frenchman and the Armenian family.
The old man was already sitting barefoot. The little Frenchman had secured his second boot and was slapping one boot against the other. The old man was saying something in a voice broken by sobs, but Pierre caught but a glimpse of this. His whole attention was directed to the Frenchman in the frieze gown, who meanwhile, swaying slowly from side to side, had drawn nearer to the young woman, and taking his hands from his pockets, had seized her by the neck.
The beautiful Armenian still sat motionless and in the same attitude, with her long lashes drooping as if she did not see or feel what the soldier was doing to her.
While Pierre was running the few steps that separated him from the Frenchman, the tall marauder in the frieze gown was already tearing from her neck the necklace the young Armenian was wearing, and the young woman, clutching at her neck, screamed piercingly.
Let that woman alone, exclaimed Pierre hoarsely in a furious voice, seizing the soldier by his round shoulders and throwing him aside.
She's too pretty! The soldier fell, got up, and ran away. But his comrade, throwing down the boots and drawing his sword, moved menacingly toward Pierre.
Voyons, pas de bêtises, he cried.
Pierre was in such a transport of rage that I've never heard that. A transport of rage?
That's not bad.
Cool, huh?
Was transported by the rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a car.
That he remembered nothing and his strength increased tenfold. He rushed at the barefoot Frenchman, and before the latter had time to draw his sword, knocked him off his feet and hammered him with his fists. Shouts of approval were heard from the crowd around, and at the same moment a mounted patrol of French Uhlans appeared from around the corner. The Uhlans came up at a trot to Pierre and the Frenchman and surrounded them. Pierre remembered nothing of what happened after that. He only remembered beating someone, being beaten, and finally feeling that his hands were bound and that a crowd of French soldiers stood around him and was searching him.
Lieutenant, he has a dagger, were the first words Pierre understood.
Ah, a weapon, said the officer and turned to the barefoot soldier who had been arrested with Pierre. All right, you can tell all about it at the court-martial. Then he turned to Pierre. Do you speak French?
Pierre looked around him with bloodshot eyes and did not reply. His face probably looked very terrible, for the officer said something in a whisper, and 4 more Uhlans left the ranks and placed themselves on both sides of Pierre.
Do you speak French? The officer asked again, keeping at a distance from Pierre. Call the interpreter.
A little man in Russian civilian clothes rode out from the ranks, and by his clothes and manner of speaking, Pierre at once knew him to be a French salesman from one of the Moscow shops.
He does not look like a common man, said the interpreter after a searching look at Pierre.
Ah, he looks very much like an incendiary, remarked the officer. And ask him who he is, he added.
Who are you? Asked the interpreter in poor Russian. You must answer the chief.
I will not tell you who I am. I am your prisoner. Take me, Pierre suddenly replied in French.
Ah, muttered the officer with a frown. Well then, march.
A crowd had collected round the Uhlans. Nearest to Pierre stood the pock-marked peasant woman with the little girl. And when the patrol started, she moved forward.
Where are you taking her? Where are they taking you to, you poor dear, said she. And the little girl, what am I to do with her if she's not there, said the woman.
What does that woman want? Asked the officer.
Pierre was as if intoxicated. His elation increased at the sight of the little girl he had saved.
What does she want? He murmured. She's bringing me my daughter, whom I have just saved from the flames, said he. Goodbye. Without knowing how this aimless lie had escaped him, he went along with resolute and triumphant steps between the French soldiers.
Aimless lie.
Great. Good for you, Pierre. That's my daughter.
Yeah, that's my daughter.
Bye.
Yes. What is he doing? Triumphant.
I mean, normally you can't tell a lie, so I guess that's something for him.
I guess. I thought he was gonna not reveal that he could speak French, but then
Me too. But
2 paragraphs later he was like, "Mais oui." The French patrol was one of those sent out through the various streets of Moscow by Durosnel's order. I don't know how you would say that. To put a stop to the pillage, and especially to catch the incendiaries, who, according to the general opinion, which had that day originated among the higher French officers, were the cause of the conflagrations. After marching through a number of streets, the patrol arrested 5 more Russian suspects: a small shopkeeper, 2 seminary students, a peasant, and a house serf, besides several looters. But of all these various suspected characters, Pierre was considered to be the most suspicious of all. When they had all been brought for the night to a large house on the Zubov rampart that was being used as a guardhouse, Pierre was placed apart under strict guard.
Well, what are you doing, Pierre?
You don't know.
I thought you were gonna kill Napoleon.
He's wonderful.
Like,
He's the
stay
most
on-
confusing person I've ever
Stay
met.
on track.
He can't.
He really can't.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, there's a child. Oh,
Yeah,
pretty
he suddenly
girl.
starts running off
Oh.
and he's like, I need to save all the people.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I
he's
mean,
doing.
granted, like, good for you for doing that.
Yeah, that's
but
great. It was great.
why did you get taken as a prisoner?
Yeah.
That's the end of that book.
Wow, that's the end of book 11.
Yeah. Do we want to continue or end there?
This looks long. This looks long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I say
We can have a short one.
start tomorrow.
I'm fading a bit.
You are?
Yeah, I just feel that kind of like, you know, that heavy drowsiness.
I'm not very sensitive to, I don't know. I think so. I don't know. I don't know what sleepy feels like.
Yeah?
I guess I do because it's happened. I don't know. I can't really tell the difference between tired and sleepy.
Like, you know, when you really haven't slept at all
Mm-hmm.
and you almost feel nauseous? Do you ever get that?
I haven't.
Wow. Yeah, I can get like kind of nauseous and very tingly.
Do you eat? Like in these marathon
Yeah.
awake sessions?
I don't know how else to describe it.
We should have read War and Peace from start to finish without stopping.
You remember when that's what we wanted to do? Like, I think our first stream was 4 hours or something.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
Which isn't that long. Ah! Which isn't that long if we would have just started earlier. I mean, it's long, but I can imagine having a conversation for that long.
You can imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can too.
Right. I think other people maybe can't as much. Yeah, people are like, you do 2 hours, and I'm like, I mean, I feel like we sit there and have a conversation for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's not that
Pretty
different.
much. We're not like reading nonstop. Even if we were reading nonstop, that would be okay.
Somebody asked me about my voice, and I was like,
It's fun. Yeah. People go to parties and they're like, ooh.
sometimes if there's drinking involved, yes.
They're smoking. Okay.
If there's smoking
But if you're just
involved-
talking, you're not like, ooh, gotta rest my voice, my vocal cords.
Yeah. Because we're also not loud at all.
That's true.
Ah!
Hey, I'm just happy that we've done every day.
You are.
Like, maybe that's why it's good that we haven't done 4 hours, because
4 hours every day would be a lot.
4 hours, I feel like I would be more resistant to it. Whereas there's been like some leniency about the duration.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Consistency is key.
Yeah, the whatever keeps you plodding on,
Right? Yeah.
I think is the way to go.
I really want to read that book, by the way, now. The Alan Carr book.
You do?
I forget what I was thinking about it for, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm just really curious around like how it's constructed. Very curious.
Why? Are you curious?
Because to me, the fact that you read a book and you quit smoking, like, that's pretty phenomenal.
Because books are so impotent?
I think a lot of books just like it, you can read a book and you don't actually take action from the book in any way. You're like, oh yeah, I learned so much, and then you find it really difficult to apply.
I guess I've read enough self-helpy type books that I think those have a tendency of being more activating. Like Radical Honesty is pretty like,
Which one's Radical?
it's unmistakable. Yeah.
I've definitely been like, I don't know. I guess it's more the like that you quit smoking, you quit drinking from a book. Like that's incredibly hard to do for some people. So
It's hard to do for me.
Yeah.
Even though his whole thing is like, this is gonna be easy. So you're not really supposed to be acknowledging how hard it is.
Yeah.
Not that you're not supposed to be, but like it's more like look on the bright side. So if you feel shitty, he's like, look at all the amazing things. And they are there. You know, anyone who's trying to quit something like knows what that's better on the other side.
Right.
And you should read it.
Yeah.
I think I have it on Audible maybe.
Because it's those kind of things that are like, I'm sure with anything that you're wanting to quit, or like any way that you're trying to like alter a habit, I'm sure if you apply the same kind of like mental awareness and like different, it sounds like a shift in perspective. Yeah, you could apply it to anything.
Probably. It helps that both of those things are poisons.
Right. But it's actually something like obviously
clearly
like
bad for you.
unquestionably terrible for you. Yeah.
So a lot of it, not a lot of it, but I mean, I don't remember how much of it. To me, it stuck out that it was like, think about how crazy it is that we all have convinced each other to do this thing that is literally poison. Like how off is that from evolutionary impulse and all this kind of stuff? It makes you realize that, like, instead of being like, oh, all the drinkers and I wanted to be like in and safe with them, it was more like I was like, oh, they're all idiots. Like they're all being had.
Right. Yeah.
And I remember reading some, maybe it was in the book, maybe it wasn't, them pointing out that like wine doesn't taste good.
Really?
It doesn't. He basically is like, most things, if you give a kid and they're like, why, then it's unlikely that they're good.
It reminds me of, there's been all kinds of studies, or like, I know there's been studies, maybe there's like other methodologies that apply like mindfulness to smoking. I don't know if it's been done with drinking. Like they really, really want you to get in touch with the actual physical sensations of smoking. And when you really do that, you're like, you can't do it anymore. You're like, this is not good. This is not enjoyable. Why did I think it was?
Yeah, I do. I remember something very compelling about him being like, he wasn't like, imagine an animal smoking, but it was like, we just suck on these sticks. Like he just broke down into its most basic units what was happening. That we like suck on a stick that's burning.
Right.
And take the smoke inside and then exhale it. And like that is a really meaningful thing. That we attach all these attributes to. Because smokers are very like, oh, I'm so stressed I need a cigarette.
Yeah.
Or like they a lot of things are cues. Right. They have a lot of cues.
Yeah.
So they think smoking helps all those fucking things, even though sometimes they're like total opposites. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm so relaxed, I'm having the best time, I need to have a cigarette. Oh, I'm so fucking stressed, I can never do this, I need to have a cigarette.
Right. So he like really breaks down like the actual thing itself. Yeah.
And also he has a really
stressed. I need a burning stick between my lips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to light something on fire and put it in.
Yeah.
And he has this thing that I think is probably not very popular, and I don't talk about it a ton, I think. He basically is like, there's no such thing as a safe drinker. That he thinks there's basically no difference between alcoholics and which is like a big thing to be said. But it was from that I developed the theory, which I'm quite fond of. It's one of my favorite pet theories, that AA is constructed, maybe not deliberate, maybe not intentionally, but is constructed so that like all the drinkers can keep drinking in peace.
Oh, it's like segregating. Okay, these are the problem ones. Yes. They can't handle it, but everyone else is fine.
Yeah, they're like they are inherently they're not able to handle this. There's something about them
Yeah.
and their makeup that makes this like really bad. So like, but like it's completely different what I'm doing. I feel like protecting that seems to me to be like a overarching benefit of sequestering all of these people and basically being like, this happened because it's because of you, because you are who you are. And he's like, it's a drug. But with both of them, he's like, it is a drug. So
Right.
so it's not weak-minded of a person to get addicted to a drug because it's a drug. Like that's a thing that happens.
Right. Yeah, there's not something inherent about them that makes them unable to deal with the substance.
That is literally what the
But that,
premise is.
yeah, like to go on about the idea that, oh, I bet actually like everyone would do really well from the 12-step program. From that place too. Wait. If everyone could do it, also no one needs to. Oh wait, no, that's not what I wanted to say.
Okay.
I like had like a parallel. Everyone needs to. Maybe that's all it is. That like it affects everyone in the exact same way.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, all those other alcoholics, they're like trying to escape their pain. No, everyone's trying to escape their pain. Everyone is doing the same thing with it.
Yeah, that is also a really significant distinction, I feel, or not a distinction, but like a point that gets made that again makes you feel like, oh, I'm not the like broken one here.
Yeah.
We're all the same, but I am just exposed to a different reality currently. And I remember Utkarsh asking me like, what do you think would happen if you had just one drink? And I was like, I'm not. He's like, you don't ever think of like, could you maybe just have one drink? And I was like, no, I don't. And that is the kind of mentality, like, wonder what would happen if I had just one. There's a certain kind of paranoia that goes along, in my view, like a superstitious paranoia that goes along, that comes hand in hand with, for whatever reason, the 12-step philosophy sometimes, that I never went through. And again, I don't think it's because I'm not a real alcoholic.
Yeah.
And once I saw that, once I was like, the only reason you would drink is either because to be more like the people around you, or to not feel your feelings. Like to change, substantially change. And I got into like Buddhism and shit at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was like, what about the present moment is intolerable enough for you to want to change it? Which is why, again, I set out to quit drinking. I hadn't thought about other drugs, but part of me was like, any alteration, most alterations, not like ayahuasca or whatever. I'm sure there's, I'm sure lots of people would put different things in different categories, but like smoking pot or whatever.
You don't get addicted to ayahuasca.
No. But I mean, it still brings up that same question of like, what is it that you are fighting in the, why can't you let the moment be what it is? That was the fundamental question underneath. And that applies to every person, even if they have one glass of wine with dinner.
Yeah, that makes me wonder, because I also thought, I was like, oh, you have it for fun. Like you have it because it makes you elevated or like happier. Sophie, like it makes you happier. And then that, I don't know, because you brought up Buddhism, I was like, oh, maybe it's the same thing actually. And our natural state is quite happy. And it's only all the like the pain and the woe that gets in the way of that. So it's the same thing. We're trying to escape our pain and get to that place underneath that's happy.
I'm sure I've said this before, but like you go to like a party with a bunch of people from AA and they are the craziest people on the dance floor.
Yeah.
They like freak out.
Mm.
And it was important to know that I could go to that place without drinking. But it's also a muscle, it's a skill that you have to develop. Because
yeah, right.
There's a reason that people only get on the dance floor after 2 drinks.
Yeah. It's a kind of laziness actually. Like they're not creating it themselves. That like desire to dance.
It's more like trying to remove the inhibitions, the fears around doing something they want to do.
Yeah.
So to me, drinking became less a sign of freedom and like freedom from inhibition, like opening, and more like, oh, it's keeping me closed actually.
Right. Yes.
And I definitely have said this multiple times, but I remember saying to the guy who I spoke to, who was like, you should quit drinking, you need to quit drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm scared that it's the only thing keeping everything together.
Yeah.
It's the only thing holding everything together. And I feel like if I stop, the wheels are all going to come off. And that was literally the opposite of what the case was.
Right.
Because it was almost like the drinking was what was driving the wheels off. Like when I took that away, suddenly there like was a car again.
Yeah.
It was the complete opposite. It was inhibiting me from being me, not allowing myself to be me, which is like a thing that we have about drinking, that like we're just like free or whatever.
Yeah, like the way that I best understood addiction is it's like a vicious circle, and that it impairs you, and then because you're impaired, you keep needing it,
Right.
and then it keeps impairing you, and so you spiral downward in that direction. And then you forget that like it's the thing that's hurting you.
Yeah,
it's the thing that's giving you that state of being.
Mm-hmm. Because it becomes so much about trying to mitigate the symptoms of missing it.
Yeah.
And that is that. So like this is the state that book is like attempting to remind you that you can like roll down a grassy hill and you can be whatever you want to be. That's not in the book, but like you have to realize that you're not actually giving anything up. You're opening yourself to like a completely wonderful new life.
Right.
Where all these things that are not accessible to you now will be accessible. So it's like just really inverting that. So in many ways it was hard, but in other ways it was easy.
Yeah.
Because I had been like brainwashed into reframing the thing to be like, I'm acting like I need this and I don't. The hole is only there because I started to fill it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not actually a hole. Yeah, there's not actually a hole. Crazy. That vicious cycle thing I think is really true.
Yeah.
That you lose track eventually, that it's that is the thing. That the only reason you want a fucking cigarette is because you smoked a fucking cigarette.
Right. And it works both ways. Like, and then there's things in life that give you like that sense of self or whatever. Because whatever, you went for a run, but those things feed you. And the more it keeps feeding you, the more you need it. But it keeps building you up. So it's like, be sure that you're finding, I don't know how you tell the difference between one and the next.
Really?
I think sometimes people can deceive themselves into thinking one is the other.
Sure.
But probably a little bit of non-attachment should be there. Probably like the more you go on with like whatever this like new good habit is, the more you actually feel like you'd be okay. Like you're okay without it. If it were to go away.
I mean, I've for a while I was nervous about the way that I exercised.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I did replace it.
Right.
Which is a thing he's very against.
Oh, okay.
No replacements or substitutes. Because that just perpetuates the belief.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So it wasn't a direct thing. It's not like, oh, when the sun went down, I went to the gym. Which would be when I started drinking wine. It wasn't like that, but it took up a big part of my life, and it felt like a lifeline, and I needed to go every day. And I used to go to like a dance class and a yoga class every day.
Yeah.
So for a while, I was dependent on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, of course, when I was so close to it, I was like, yeah, no, this is fine.
Right.
Like, this is infinitely better addiction, if it is, whatever. And then I was like scared that I couldn't handle going less. Because like maybe all the wheels would come off.
Yeah. Right.
And I still have a lot of I have surges of anxiety about where I'm at. Because I think where I'm at, if I like step back and intellectually think about it and not go on my gut or my fears, I think I'm in a really good place.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel discouraged from working out. Like I'm doing it pretty all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm also not at all fazed by missing it.
Yeah, I know. I love that. I love that you can do that. I'm very impressed by it.
It's a trust fall. And I had to be like, oh God, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, and not go. Yeah. And it was like a bit of an experiment. It's been 6 years since I've been doing this, so it didn't happen overnight. But
yeah, it seems like not a big deal for you. You just like, you can not work out for a while, and then you just pick it right back up again. And there's no like beating yourself up about it.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like a while has only ever lasted
like a week.
Like 4 days to a week.
Yeah, I think there was like a week.
Or maybe I remember there being a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, I forget
something
what was going
happened.
on. Yeah, something was going on. And then I think you were just like, I don't know, you just got to it right after. There was like one day you were just like, you just switched it. And you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you were going to the gym every morning.
And I think that comes back to like the cigarette thing. Like it's really only whatever you decide it is also. And that was one of the funniest things he says in the book is the only thing you have to do is never smoke a cigarette ever.
Right. Just stop it.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, which is like so much easier than doing it actually.
So even these days I'm like, can I not have a cigarette right now? Yeah. So I'm good. But with the gym, it's more like I just keep, it's muscle memory. I don't build up any like emotional thing with it. I do experience fear like, oh my God, am I going to suddenly like die in the middle of class because I haven't gone in a week? But I've never let myself get like out of shape. Ever. Ever meaning since I started.
Yeah.
If I got like a mean injury or something, I am really not sure what I would do. Like a broken,
I was actually thinking that for like the first time working out the other day. I was like, injury must be terrible. You just can't work out. And then from that moment on, I mean, not everyone maybe, but you're a bit frightened about being injured again. So you kind of hold back.
I've been getting in my head recently about the fact that I've only been doing dance the past couple of weeks. I haven't really been doing like strength stuff at all. I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah.
On the cardio, I haven't done this for a long time.
That's true. So throw in the strength.
I know, but I feel like it takes me so long to find something on Instagram. I don't know why I think that I need anyone's guidance.
You really don't.
I know, it's a joke. I literally train my parents and I don't have a plan. So, and it's with, they only have loop bands. So we're just like doing every body part
right
with these fucking loop bands.
And you're just making it up. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't need someone.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like accountability. I don't know what it is.
I get that. Doing it with someone else.
But that someone else could be like a live on Instagram thing, apparently. Like that's still enough, seems like a person enough that I'm like, right, now's the time that's happening at.
Yeah.
Like
when I work out just like from memory, I'm like, 15 minutes. Okay, we're good. I walk away. Whereas I feel like a bit more guilt if I don't finish the video, like, because I'm not even live streaming most of the time. But still, if I don't finish the video, I feel a bit guilty. There's like all these levels of accountability, So there's like an actual class. It's like, finish the class. And then there's a live thing where it's like, don't walk off, like it's happening. And then, of course, if you're like actually in person in a class, chances are you're not going to leave the class.
Yeah. Yeah. And that the live thing has been good for me.
Yeah.
Like I've tried to catch it and have frequently been like, why is this different? Like literally, it's recorded and the same thing. You can do it later in the day. But the fact that it is live somehow makes it different.
Yeah.
And because I haven't like been on top of like the couple of people that are my go-tos, because I haven't been on top of their live schedules, I am now not doing it. You know what working out is like for me? Going to a diner. This isn't true anymore, but it is extremely difficult to go through 15 pages of things you can eat.
Yeah.
They have everything.
Yeah.
They can make everything. You know how diner menu, I don't know if they are in Canada, but in the US, they are like page after page after page after page.
Okay. So you're saying like there's too many exercises that you could potentially do?
Yes. So I just like, it floods. So it's like a buffet that I'm like, I can't possibly, how am I supposed to decide anything here? And the same thing always happens to me at a buffet. I always take too much. Always.
I mean, obviously there's easy solutions for that.
I mean, now it's not a huge problem because I can't eat anything.
Oh. Right. But I meant more for working out. Working out, you decide you just limit it. If you know that, you limit it. You're like, great, today I'm gonna work my glutes.
It's like a Wikipedia thing. I'm like, oh, hamstrings, and it just like kind of goes on, and so I'm not like sweating and screeching, but I'm basically going through like everything, a little bit of everything, like a buffet.
Okay.
And before I know it, it's been 2.5 hours.
Right.
But again, it's not like I'm not like strenuously going. It's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's maybe I'll send you that article that I found all these workout things on. From Good Housekeeping.
Yeah, I asked you for it.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Oh, maybe and now it's too late to do something. But then I always after the reading have been the last few days I've had a surge where I'm like, it's now the time. I don't do lunges right now.
It's not too late. Some people like working out late.
I don't think that's fun.
I don't know if it's supposedly it's not good for your sleep schedule.
Yeah, I feel like it's like winding myself up at the time when.
I think there was one day that I like did a workout right after a reading. And it felt stupid.
Why?
Like I think I did like a dance cardio workout, and I was like, "What am I doing?
Oh,
this
Jesus.
is not good."
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
TGIF, guys.
It's not TGIF. It's not F.
Oh, wait, it's Saturday.
Yes.
TGIS. That's what I said.